Good afternoon and welcome to the City Council meeting for the City of International Falls for Monday, November 20, 2017. I would ask all to please arise and pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would ask the City Administrator to note the roll call with all members of the Council present. Move to the agenda, and we have the one agenda addition, and that's to reschedule the first reading of an ordinance from November 20th to January 2nd, and that would be on the repeal of existing fees and establishing a new fee schedule. Your pleasure with the addition and the agenda. Motion by Councillor Jacksaw to approve the agenda with the addition.
Second.
Second by Councillor Pearson. Discussion on the motion or the agenda. Question.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Yes, motion is carried. Agenda is approved with the addition. Thank you. We'll move to the minutes of the regular City Council meeting of November 6, 2017. Motion by Councillor Pearson, second by Councillor Briggs. Discussion on the motion or the minutes? Hearing none, question.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Well, yes, motion is carried. Regular minutes for November the 6th are approved. Thank you. And then we have the minutes of the special City Council meeting for November 13. Motion by Councillor Briggs. Second by Councillor Pearson. Discussion on the motion or the minutes? Question.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Well, yes, motion is carried, and minutes are approved for the special City Council meeting. Thank you. Go to the payment of claims and approval of transfers. The resolution that we have before us includes transfers to Fund Number 101, the General Fund, from the Water and Sewer Fund of $18,285. To the Permanent Improvement Fund from the Water and Sewer Fund, $25,000, and to the Reserve for Capital Outlay from the Water and Sewer Fund, $17,428. Accounts payable claims: the City of International Falls, $193,474.96. Airport Commission claims of $6,979.96. And Library Board claims of $4,181.25. Council's pleasure with the payment of claims and the approval of the transfers.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councillor Droba to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Second by Councillor Pearson. Discussion on the motion or the resolution. Question.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
No vote yes. Motion is carried. Resolution is adopted approving the transfers and the payment of claims. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to bring something to the attention of the council that's not on the agenda? Not seeing anyone. We will move. There'll be another opportunity at the end of the meeting, but we'll move to the public hearing and the second reading of ordinance of the fifth series, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 11, entitled Land Use Regulations, Zoning, by amending the city official zoning map to have blocks 4 and 5, plat of First Division of International Falls, parcel ID number 92-110-05000. The former U.S. Army Reserve Center property, the vacated abutting 4th Avenue, and 2 vacated alleys in said blocks hereby be rezoned from P1 Public to C1B Commercial for Granite Digital Realty, LLC. Council's pleasure with the second reading.
Move.
Motion by Councilor Briggs to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Drova. Discussion. Including Mr. Mershon. Any comments from you?
An update for you, Mr. Mayor?
Please. Yes, if you'd come up.
All the comments are contingent on what we presume this passes, so
You want to come up and sit here?
please you. I'll take any questions you might have and reserve my comments for after your vote, if that's okay.
Okay.
Any questions of Mr. Mershon at this time?
Except I'd like the update.
Yep. We'll hear that. Further discussion on the second reading of the ordinance by the council. Hearing none, Chair would place the question.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried, and the second reading of the ordinance is approved. Thank you. Mr. Mershon.
Thank you.
So it's picked up by the microphone there.
So on behalf of the board of directors for Granite Digital, our development team, and our partners, we'd like to commend and congratulate council on passing this ordinance. It's probably not a big issue to do a little simple rezoning in the city, but from our perspective, this now allows us to focus all of our efforts exclusively on this project. As many of you are aware, we're in the midst of a initial or Series A round of equity fundraising that's going along very well. We are already halfway to the funding required to move ahead with the next step of the project, which brings the HPE development team into town for about a week, sometime this winter. And it should be noted that all of that funding so far has come from local investors, small and large. That's really impressive that the community has sought out, the folks that can do so have sought out this project and invest, an investor makes that investment because they expect a return. But to a person, all those folks are excited about what this project means for the community. And you folks should be excited about what the project means for the community, because it's not just Granite Digital's endeavors, it's not just the Army Reserve, as I've discussed with many of you individually, but I'll say it here collectively. We think this brings a new industry to town that is not just the 17 to 35 positions that Granite Digital proposes at the Army Reserve. It's not just the $150 million investment that we see coming for that project. It's not just the $20 million in economic activity on an annual basis that will benefit this community. It's the other players in the industry that we think will find our project successful enough to come in behind us. So what we'd like to do tonight is look forward 5 to 10 years and imagine several dozen, several hundred real smart engineers, mechanical, electrical, compute, taking up a home in our community, spending money at real estate, car dealers, grocery stores, and these are folks that obviously will enjoy the outdoors and the benefits of our community. So we're excited. This is a big step for us, again, because we can now focus exclusively on Army Reserve. And we're very pleased that you've been a partner of ours, and we'll continue to do so in the future. We'll be back in front of you again for tax abatement. We'll be back in front of you for the vacation of half of 19th Street sooner rather than later, because we understand these things take a little time. But we've got a lot of time invested, so no necessarily hard development date, but we think we'll be lights on in 2019. That's our focus.
You'll be what?
At this point, lights on in 2019,
okay.
And hopefully we'll see cranes in the air next year at some point. Any questions? Again, thank you for your help and your cooperation. And again, we truly view you as one of many partners, and let's get this industry into town.
I'd like to see a champagne bottle breaking on a crane or something. The mayor.
You know, that's not my favorite part of the future plans, but I've been advised by enough people who have done these things before that that will happen, and you'll all be there, I guarantee it.
Good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great holiday and a good holiday season. And again, we thank you for your help and support.
Thank you, Mr. Michon. We look forward to working with you to clear other hurdles.
Pretty excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
We also have the second reading of the ordinance to amend Chapter 11, the Land Use Regulations, Sections 11-30, and that permitted and conditional uses. F, C1B, commercial conditional uses to insert data center as one of the items that would be a conditional use in that ordinance. With that, your pleasure on the second reading of the ordinance to amend Chapter 11. Motion by Councillor Jackson. Second by Councillor Pearson. Discussion on the motion or the ordinance. Question.
Aye.
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Motion is carried, and the second reading is passed and approves the changes to the ordinance in Chapter 11. Thank you. Move to old business, and the addition item to the agenda is to reschedule the first reading from Monday, November 20th, 2017 to Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018 for the ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances to repeal the existing fees and establish a new fee schedule. Pleasure with that rescheduling. Motion by Councillor Briggs to reschedule. Second by Councillor Pearson. Question on the motion or the rescheduling?
I mean, just more time is needed. That's, yeah.
Yes.
Is it more time? Or?
City Administrator.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is correct. We need to have a little bit more time to put the information together. I think we're talking at a staff level right now about perhaps asking the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, of the committee, to schedule a meeting where we can have a discussion and go through all the existing fees. Already gone through the existing ordinance. There's a number of places where fees are interspersed into the to make sure that what we're developing is consistent with what the council's intent is. We'd probably like to get some input from you as a Budget and Finance Committee to see what fees should be changed, what fees should be added, and what would be an appropriate fee. So we're trying to assemble some of that information on what similar communities have for fees, and then we'd like to have more informally before we actually get to the first, so we have the appropriate information.
Somebody posted on Facebook our dog and cat fees. Who's that? Anyway, I thought it was gratifying to see that, you know, that was communicated that we do have dog and cat fees.
Yep, they're relatively minimal. Annual fee, I think it's $2 and $4. $2 for cat and $4 for dog.
And how many did we sell a year? 40? 10? 20? I know it's not 100.
It's not a significant amount, but it's, you know, it's double digits. I don't know what the number is. Could be 99. But actually, that's good that you brought that up, because it's one of the things that we wanted to talk about. I mean, we require that dog and cat licenses be issued on an annual basis, one-time license fee. So that would be something that we'd want to have a conversation about to try and simplify it, because I'm certain we haven't had 100% compliance with that. And
There's more dogs and cats than there is people.
So, but part of the reason for that is for public safety, and we actually have periodically you'll have a canine that bites a kid or somebody else, and if they don't have proper vaccinations and stuff, it could be a public health concern. And so we've actually had that happen recently, and so that's why we have licenses, and before we issue the license, we make sure that they've had rabies vaccinations and any other vaccinations.
The only reason I seriously bring this up is if the proposal isn't done yet, I would seriously consider that we should change it to a lifetime if we can, because I think we'd get better compliance as you've indicated. And secondly, if it was lifetime, we could maybe get that license fee at the time that that dog or cat is adopted or purchased. Somehow we could work with the vendors or the Humane Society to make that happen too. Yeah. So
We do that now, I believe,
oh, okay.
in both places.
But once if it was lifetime, you don't, you only have that interface maybe once when the cat or dog is purchased or taken.
Further discussion on rescheduling the first reading of the ordinance from November the 20th to January the 2nd, and then we look to have a meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee. Further discussion? Question?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Motion is carried, and the first reading of that ordinance will be rescheduled to January the 2nd. Thank you. Move to the consent agenda, and that includes two licenses, Carter Kittleson for a snowplow license and Snickers Concrete for a snowplow license. It's your pleasure with the consent agenda.
I have a question before the consent agenda.
Okay.
We've had a lot of discussions at the Public Works Department about the snowplowing licenses and what we're going to be asking. Can I ask if anything has changed for a license from 2017 to 2018?
We had a conversation last meeting that portion of the downtown district between 2nd and 6th and 2nd Street and 4th Street, that within that area where we have existing paver blocks on the sidewalks, that equipment that would be deemed to be not remove snow from sidewalks in that area to prevent damage to the paver blocks, as well as any other street lights, garbage cans, those kinds of things. So when we issue licenses, we'll be sending a notification about what the existing ordinance requirements are for snow removal, to make sure that all the licensed snow removal operators are familiar with what our standards are.
These guys have received that when they applied for the license?
They have not yet, but some people have been getting licenses as long.
Okay, thank you.
I took that as a point of order, and so back to the consent agenda. Your
I'll move on the consent agenda.
motion by Councilor Droba to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Jacksaw. Question?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried. Consent agenda is approved, and the licenses are approved. Thank you. We'll go to new business, and item number 1 is the approval of 2018 license renewals. Those licenses under that item are the Elks Club number 1599, a club license, Sunday liquor license, and restaurant license. Citizens for Bacchus AB Incorporated, 3.2 on sale with a restaurant, a wine on sale and restaurant license. Erickson Oil Products Incorporated, doing business as Freedom Value Center number 61, a 3.2 off sale, cigarette, fireworks, gasoline pumps, and restaurant license. Sound North, pawnbroker with established business. TRM2 Incorporated, doing business as Chocolate Mousse Restaurant Company, a wine on sale and restaurant license. VFW Peter Graham number 2948, club license, Sunday liquor, gambling, pool table, jukebox, and restaurant licenses. Your pleasure with the license renewals.
Motion.
Moved by Councilor Jackson to approve the 2018 license renewals as presented. For second to the motion. Because we have officers that are members or employees of some of these businesses. So as mayor, I would second the motion then to approve the 2018 licenses. Discussion on the motion or the licenses. I want to state that they are...
Because of the VFW license, I'll abstain.
Being a gambling man at the VFW post, and this is my license, I'll abstain.
Okay.
Sound North, it probably should as well, but I can, so it'll go.
I have no conflicts.
I have no conflicts.
Oh, yes.
Call for the question.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried, and the licenses are approved with 3 being for and 2 abstentions. Thank you. Item number 2 under new business is a resolution approving application for an exempt permit for the Chamber of Commerce to conduct a raffle as part of the Icebox Days celebration, with the drawing to be held on Monday, January 22nd, 2018. Your pleasure with the resolution. Motion by Councillor Jacksaw to approve. Second by Councillor Pearson. Discussion on the motion or the resolution?
Does the Chamber President would like to say anything, or? No?
I guess I had it formally, but just to say that we... That isn't just, you know, talking specifically to Chamber.
That in the mic, it would get on our TV station.
Next time around.
I should have asked you to come forward. I'm sorry. So this is a new way of raising revenue. I just wanted that to be on the record. Okay. A new way for the community to be engaged.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Further discussion? Question?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried. Resolution is adopted, and the exempt permit for the Chamber of Commerce for the raffle is approved. Thank you. Item number 3 under new business is to consider the Safety Committee recommendation to approve the update to the Workplace Accident Injury Reduction Act policy. Council's pleasure with that recommendation by the Safety Committee to approve the update. Motion by Councilor Briggs.
Second.
Second by Councilor Droba. Discussion. There was a lot to read there in that.
Will this change in policy have any financial impact?
City Administrator.
There shouldn't be any direct financial impacts. The city is required to comply with the state statute and have a safety policy or an accident injury reduction policy, and we've had this for a considerable period of time. It has to be updated periodically. Right now, it sounds like this policy could be enforced for 5 years before it needs to be formally reviewed and adopted. It's required that the City Council, as the governing body, approve the policy. So we've had our department heads working for quite literally a year, on and off at different times, and reviewing different components of this. And the principal changes to it are that before we were required to have monthly safety training, and it was the same for everybody. But as you know, with our police department, firefighters, and ambulance, they all have trainings on separate dates. The EMTs are volunteer people. We have paid on-call firefighters that are volunteers, so it's not like we have a 8 to 10 safety training on during the week when we have so many people. So the old policy didn't really have the flexibility that this new policy has, which allows Department heads have more flexibility with the required trainings that they have to have. The police, and obviously they have unique training with gun safety and firearm safety, defensive tactics that most often we don't need to have in the administration department. So, there's so.
Thank you.
This may be unfair, a few questions that I do have, but City Administrator, on looking at page 13, under the safety rules, it talks about all employees are expected to observe the following safety rules. One of those is that they report immediately to their supervisor any accident, and that a report is filled out. Do we have a form, do you know, presently, or? We do, very good. And my second part of that question would be, will all of the employees receive a copy of this policy?
Yes.
I noted also that we'll be forming a safety committee made up of both supervision, administration, and employees that are on the job.
That's correct. And we have a safety committee now, but it principally consists of department heads in all of the departments. And the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust had met with us, I think, as a department, and their recommendation was to have a safety committee that had not only supervisory staff, but also line workers, your people with boots on the ground, to also participate, because they can offer suggestions about perhaps improvements in the types of safety equipment we use or safety practices in maintaining equipment. So recommended that we have a safety committee that consists of supervisory staff and line workers, and so that's being proposed, and that's one of the changes in this committee as well, or I'm sorry, in this policy. And so council moves forward with adoption of this policy, we'll also prepare a memo and volunteer to serve on that safety committee. Policy is required to meet, it's 8 or 9 times minimum a year, but typically we meet on a monthly basis, and then have people volunteer to serve on that. If we don't get volunteers, then the employer can appoint somebody to be on that committee. And then we'd ask for you to make a formal appointment and the council to ratify that appointment at the general meeting.
Very good, thank you. And then I'd like to move to page 20, and on the area of item J, the approval of disciplinary actions, should that ever be necessary, and hopefully it's never. But my question centers around the approval required column, which has the Human Resource Committee. And is that the City Council Human Resource Committee, or is that a different Human Resource Committee?
It would be the same.
City Council Human Resource Committee? Very good. Thank you. And then on the very last page of, on the back, the responsibilities, it sounds though, for the safety coordinator, and the list of annual required training. And I assume that this will need to be updated so that all employees in public works and administration will be going through these trainings. Is that expected?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor, and quite frankly, that will be updated. We had a conversation at our last meeting before this was adopted. You can see at the bottom of the page there that I've got circled number 6. That's referencing a person that's not here. This was a standard document that was part of the former one, and the required training is different for different departments. So for instance, the police department has post certifications that they need to maintain related to bloodborne pathogens, using fire extinguishers and those types of things that we expect all employees. Ours training that's done once every 2 years.
Very good. Further questions with regard to the policy?
Pretty extensive. Wow.
Yes, it was heavy reading.
Yeah.
With that, Chair would then call the question on the motion to adopt the Safety Committee's recommendation to approve the Workplace Accident Injury Reduction Act policy.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried. Recommendation is approved. Thank you. Further under new business? We'll move to reports of boards, committees, and department heads. City Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few updates. The Highway 53 Visual Quality Committee will be meeting tomorrow at 10 here in this room, and I expect the meeting, the agenda was received today. About 12:30, the council is invited to join us to try and get some input on what's being prepared by the MnDOT's consultants, both engineering and landscape architects, related to the Highway 53 project. So we just made council is more than welcome to join us and offer any input that you may feel appropriate or necessary.
What time is that again?
10 o'clock tomorrow. And then we're in the process of continuing ongoing negotiations with the local 49ers, and they represent public works employees as well as 2 administrative staff, so that's in process. We've met, I believe, 3 times. I did want to point out, and it's later on the agenda under reminders, but we do have a Truth in Taxation public input meeting scheduled for the final budget and property tax levy for 2018, and that's scheduled on December 4th at 6:00 p.m. in this room, so the public would be welcome to attend if they have any questions about the city's budget and what it consists of. I would also just mention that if people have questions about the valuation of their property, meaning the assessed value that the county assessor places on that property, this is not the meeting to go to. This is a meeting to talk about our budget and our levy. The meeting where people have questions about how their property is valued in terms of the assessed value need to go to that meeting, and it's typically often get people with questions about their valuation once they receive a notice from the county, and almost invariably related to the value of their property and having a dispute with that, and not what the purpose of this meeting is. So I just want. And finally, we're having our first joint meeting with the North Couchiching Area Sanitary District, City of International Falls, the City of Rainier, and the East Couch Sanitary District to go over the inflow and infiltration in the sanitary sewer system. I don't have the time yet, but that date. I don't believe I have anything else, unless the council has any questions of me at the present.
Councilor Droba.
I have a question, probably very specific that shouldn't be brought up in a meeting, but I'm just curious. The trailer house that has been moved and is in the open field in front of the trailer court at Super One, do we have a time frame on when that's going to leave?
It's interesting you should bring that up, Councilor. That particular unit had a water problem, and so it was removed from the site so they could address the water problem within the park there. We visited about this at a staff level last week, and the the fire chief was supposed to contact the owners of the property to make sure that that was removed, because it shouldn't be staying removed.
I thought there was possibly some utility items in there that needed to be removed before they could take and move it to a landfill.
Well, typically, before anything would be demolished, and if it would be removed to the landfill, you have to take personal property and belongings, even. So it's principally just the structural components of the building. I think if there's carpeting in there that's affixed to the floor, that can be demoed, but if it's rolled up or something like that, it has to be removed and it can't go in there. And so that was one of the issues that the fire chief needs to address with the owner of the park, is to make sure that all those personal belongings are removed from the unit before it can be.
White goods, I think, have to be taken out. And I know this isn't a city item, but maybe you just take a minute and tell us about your activity yesterday at the Vikings game.
I think just coincidentally, yesterday I was at the Vikings game, but my family, my daughter was interested in going to the game, so I got tickets a couple weeks ago, and then the Vikings had an opportunity where they were saluting service for people, and so I was a veteran, and they were allowing active duty military as well as veterans to participate in the halftime flag ceremony as well as the pregame ceremony, and so I just submitted my name. It was first come, first serve, and I got selected, so I had an opportunity to carry the flag out on the field yesterday before the game and then also at halftime, and it was a very enjoyable experience, and I know the veterans were very appreciative, and fans do an outstanding job recognizing veterans nowadays versus in the Vietnam War era, so it was a fun experience, and I appreciated it.
Thank you for being involved and for your being a veteran. Further questions for the city administrator? Thank you. City attorney.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing special to report.
Thank you. Chief Maston, did you get your deer? Okay.
They're safe around. Mr. Mayor, Council, I don't have a written report, but I would brief you on the weekend's events. I'm sure most of you have heard that we had a armed robbery at one of our convenience stores late Saturday night, actually, or late Friday night, actually, early Saturday morning. Officers have been working on that. The case is still under investigation. We have collected a lot of evidence, and I arrested 2 adult males, local adults. They've had their first appearance today. In hand, but I want to relay the fact that we have no reason to believe that there's any further concern for the public based on this incident.
Very serious, but thank you for the good work by your department, and I believe there was other departments that assisted the city police.
Absolutely.
Very good.
The Sheriff's Office and State Patrol were also involved.
Working together is wonderful to hear. Thank you. Questions for Chief Maston? Councilor Droba.
What is the second offense on the parking ticket since the price went up to $20?
About that later.
Another $20, I guess.
No, I realize that, but how many people is it deterring people from?
Actually, in speaking with Don, who actually keeps track of all that, I think our compliance is a lot better. People are more apt to pay their parking tickets. I've had a few customers call and complain that the price went up. It wasn't, they quote, it wasn't such a big deal when it was $5, but now it's $20. So people are paying more attention to us.
They didn't care if they paid $5, right?
I got my first one. I now ask my wife what's onto the road I'm supposed to park on.
Good. Further questions? Thank you, Chief Maston. Go to reports of the mayor, council committees, boards, and commissions.
I just have one thing.
Please.
I had the conversation today with somebody over at the county, and their county board is considering the implementation of a transportation tax, which they haven't voted on it yet, but causes me that we need to get going on some budget and finance meetings regarding alternative revenue streams, and because we're not in isolation here.
Good.
Well, that opens up the door. When would we like to have a budget and finance meeting at the request of the city administrator, Councilor Jacksaw?
Now? Set it time?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm asking for.
Well, the rest of this week is Thanksgiving, so it gets us into the next week. Next week would be open for me. Any of those days.
Tuesday afternoon?
Yeah, Tuesday afternoon would work for me. Early afternoon.
28th?
Okay, what time? Early afternoon, how about 1?
1 o'clock would work for me.
The city administrator, will you be back from, I know you have a doctor appointment on Monday.
I will be out on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week.
I think it'd be helpful to have the city administrator. Can we go to the next week, December the 4th?
Why is that going off? Don't we have meetings? Oh, that's the council meeting night, but we could do one in the afternoon on that day too.
That would work.
On the 4th?
On the 4th in the afternoon?
Before the meeting?
Before the council
Before the
meeting, yeah.
meeting, maybe we go later then, so we only have to make one trip over here?
That would work.
Or
3 o'clock maybe?
Yeah, because then it's only an hour and a half meeting, guaranteed. 3 o'clock
We're going to have a series of meetings on this, but...
3 o'clock.
Okay.
3 o'clock. Budget and Finance on December the 4th.
Correct.
Thank you.
3 p.m.
Okay. Further under reports, you have my written report. I would tell you that I attended the Highway 371 meeting in Bemidji, and there was a great turnout of folks there, a lot of interest in that seeking 4-lane to Bemidji. There was I would consider some differences with regard to which highway the 4 lanes should be focused on. Some were considering 371, others thought that 71 or 64 should be considered, and so they've got to come to a consensus there as to which highway they think should be the 4-lane moving from central Minnesota up to Bemidji. They did ask if I would serve on the committee, and with your approval I would do that. And then I think City Administrator, I don't know if you wanted to comment on the Housing Collaborative, but we had a meeting this morning with the Couchiching Housing Collaborative, and we were looking to have the county, we'd be moving towards maybe asking the county to do a county housing study. So
I planned to be at that meeting and I had a conflict. It just disappointed me, but so they're going to move forward with it?
well, the next meeting is in December, and then we will, at that time, December 18th at 10 o'clock. Is that correct?
Yes.
Where?
At the Bacchus.
What was the upshot of the meeting today?
Well, kind of concluding that we would, and they'll be contacting more folks, but we would be looking to possibly go to the county and ask the county to have with the participation from cities and other organizations, a county housing study.
We have somewhat of a housing study at this stage of the game, but not a market analysis, correct?
That's correct. And Mr. Mayor, if I may, I think the discussion today was centered around, there was a PowerPoint presentation by a representative of the Minnesota Housing Partnership, which is providing technical assistance to the county as part of a grant program that they received. And most of the conversation revolved around the fact that they have $10,000 in grant funds that can be used. And in this case, I think the discussion was principally around trying to get a housing study that looked at the entire county and the impacts that housing have on providing affordable housing for employees. And I think there was some recognition is that the issues of housing are different in Northome than they are perhaps in Rainier and International Falls or Little Fork. So and they said typically when consultants are putting together a housing study for a client on a countywide basis, that it could set up sub-regions because the nature of the housing is different in all places, but there's some commonalities to it. And so they were suggesting it would be appropriate for Coochin County to move forward with how that cost sharing might work out would be up for discussion, I think, at the next meeting, or one of the things to look at. And the principal benefit to this is that there's grant funds, and there's very few grant funds out there to do a study of this nature. So they provide up to $10,000 for grant funds. And at a county level, then any subsequent housing projects that actually went forward, that individual cities could apply to also get grant funding up to $10,000 to assist with a project or program that might be developed as a result of the information. But, you know, we've talked about it at the previous meeting that the city was already in the process of assembling a lot of housing information and as part of our comprehensive plan. So. She went into some level of detail about what a countywide housing study could comprise, or what would be part of that, and that it could be different in different.
But the political energy around a countywide effort, I just am not sure that there's that a countywide approach to housing is I mean, you know, I don't know. You're going to have sub-regions then. You're going to have multiple housing studies within the overall report, because there's no way you're going to do a housing study for North Rome that's going to pertain to.
Well, I think as the city administrator pointed out, if we felt strongly enough that we wanted to try to do a separate study, we would be eligible for a $10,000 grant, or if it was approved, we would have to match that with $10,000. Doing it as a county, we might be able to secure some greater information from the county study by being a participant and contributing some monies for that that study. So there's several ways we can go. I think we need to have more information and understanding of what we expect and what the request for the proposal would be.
Was there any written information handed out?
There's a PowerPoint presentation.
The PowerPoint presentation.
There's enough time on this. I can contact the board. I'm unsure about what we're looking at when we talk about a countywide study. I really am.
I'd be happy.
And we need a market analysis to move forward with the city's housing effort. You know.
The principal benefit to this is they said before any developer will do any kind of a housing project, they're going to want to see the base level information that would be in a housing study, which is what, and you recognize that because you've been advocate for having the housing component of our comprehensive plan prepared and updated. So talked a lot about that, and there's a lot of other issues that come up as part of the work that the consultant would do in looking at in and out migration of employees to other communities. And you know, pointed out that there's you know, the St. Louis County border isn't far from where we are, and there's people down in Cabotogama and Ash River, as well as people across the river in Canada that work here and maybe live over there, and vice versa. So there's some of that cross-border traffic even that has to be incorporated into a study of that nature. I'll be happy to provide a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that they provided today in the agenda, and I'll just stick it in your box and you can get it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. By the way, I was going to ask you, Mayor, how I didn't see you on the Weather Channel. Were you on there? I only saw Trish. I saw you on the Weather Channel.
I was on at 5:15. What time were you up?
Well,
5:15 in the morning.
no, I mean the replay. It wasn't 5:15, believe me. But I saw Trish out there.
We got a great clip from the Weather Channel. We're going to put out that. All our live interviews.
I believe we all did at least 3 or 4 interviews individually. So
The Weather Channel played that later in the day.
they played some of them throughout.
I didn't see you.
Oh, Well,
Are they playing the mayor?
They should be, yeah. Yeah.
I saw the mayor twice,
Okay,
I saw Tricia twice.
yeah, okay.
Both.
He made us look real good.
Good.
thank you.
Glad to hear that.
Great opportunity for the community to get certainly some national recognition there.
Definitely, chamber. Calls in our office by the time I
Wow.
like, it's really. Every time we get calls in the office or an email, we love it.
Those are great sweatshirts, too.
They are.
I have one, I just cherish it.
Did you have the opportunity to see Ken Krieger with the Arrowhead 135 race?
See that either.
Oh,
Is that, which
that was,
channel is that on?
that was on the Weather Channel also. He was another one interviewed.
I'll send you that link.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Just bring to your attention another items that I set at your place, and that was the tomorrow at the North Couchiching Sanitary District meeting, the 2018 service contract with East Couchiching will be up. I'm not sure what's expected on the second item, and that's the inflow and infiltration investigation and elimination agreement. That was included. And then lastly, there's a resolution approving the construction of the Island View Sewer Project and accepting the wastewater for treatment. And I'm not sure why the sewer district needs to approve the construction. I'm just not certain what's expected of the board, so that's coming tomorrow morning. This was provided to the board as a preliminary packet, so I don't know the details of it at this point. Just wanted the council to have that information.
7:30 tomorrow?
7:30 tomorrow.
I have to come to that. You're going to be room in that room?
Oh, yes. Anyone in the audience then that has anything to bring to the attention of the council at this time? Not, please note the correspondence, and that the next regular city council meeting is Monday, December the 4th, and that will include the public input meeting on the final budget and property tax levy as reported by the city administrator at 6 p.m. that evening. So we'll try to fill out the time from 4:30 to 6. That's
3 to 6.
3 to 6, yes. Anything further to come before the city council at this time? None, then we'll stand adjourned. Thank you.